shoes from the 1300s right up to the 1980s. Well, we start off here with what they call Poulaines. They started to become quite pointed, a lovely ladies' pair of Poulaines. And here we have what the men would have been wearing back then. Now in the late 1300s, look, we started to get a bit fancier, and these are the late ladies 1300s. And here's an example of what the men would have been wearing. In the early 1400s, they started to get even longer. Look at this lovely purple man's boot Poulaine. And the ladies are starting to creep up almost like a stiletto. Late 1400s, we're really starting to make a statement. This man's Poulaine is curling upwards. And here's some ladies' Poulaines. And what we've got underneath here is what's called wooden pattens. And that was to help you walk through the mud or the dirt without getting your shoes dirty. In the early 1500s, they change completely and we get a square toe. And this style was called a cow mouth style. This style here was called a duck-billed style because look at the toe. And this is what was called a bare paw shoe. You can see why for that. Now the late 1500s, ladies had started to get a small heel here and a nice rounded toe. And although men's were still flat, they have a round toe and what was called slashing pattern. Now the early 1600s has started to get a bit longer again with a bit of a square toe. Look at this beautifully crafted man's black shoe. Here's a lovely everyday shoe for a lady, but with lots of slashing pattern all over now. There was also a shoe that started to come in with this platform at the bottom called a slap sole shoe, bit of a tongue twister there, which helped you again walk through uneven ground. Late 1600s, the stilettos are coming back again. This beautiful silk shoe with a bow for a man. And a lovely, beautiful example of a lady's shoe with stump work embroidery. And look at this man's shoe getting even longer with a square toe. And for wealthy, privileged court women, this was called shopping, and it was just a slip-on slipper, if you like, but with a massive platform. Early 1700s, Rococo style, this red, gold red shoes, beautiful for the ladies or for the gentlemen. And another example of some now quite high heels with a stiletto shoe, beautifully designed. Late 17s are changing again. Now this man's gorgeous leather shoe has a small heel and a decorative buckle. And I just think this lady's pink silk shoe is absolutely sublime. In the early 1800s, the Regency period, we start to see flat slipper type shoes coming in. This is an example of a man's leather pair. And here's a gorgeous example of what the ladies would have been wearing. Late 1800s is a beautiful flat style for men here. And the ladies' pump style shoes have embroidery and buckles and bows and ballet ties. The early 1900s going into the Edwardian period, these lovely black booties for men with added what they called spats. And these gorgeous ladies' shoes in burgundy, patent with what they call frog fastenings. 1920s for men saw black and white brogues become popular. And these gorgeous shoes here for women in the Art Deco style. And this was what was called a Louis heel that came back in the 1930s. Men's style became a little look like this. They were loafers, actually called Oxfords. And women were replicating them now, getting a bit more comfort, but with heels. This was a ladies' style of Oxford. And here's a beautiful example of a 1930s everyday ladies' pair of shoes. So to the 1940s, men's brogues had become half canvas and half leather, were very popular. Here's an example of ladies in the 1940s in a beautiful suede. And And the 1940s saw lots of different styles come in, with small platforms too. 1950s loafers for men saw beautiful suede type shoes as well. Here are blue suede shoes. And brown and white beautifully decorated loafers. And of course trainers and sneakers came around. 1950s saw the revival of the stiletto, but in quite extreme ways. Sandal types, lovely pointed court shoes, and shoal or skull sandals became popular. The early 1960s saw the square toe come back into fashion, and multicoloured shoes were really fashionable. The 60s for men saw beautiful suede loafers, or lovely white or coloured flat moccasin type loafers. Late 1960s saw the mod movement, black and white. For women, the disco go-go boots were popular with the miniskirt, and a sort of a stiletto toe for men. The late 1960s started to see thicker, heavier heels coming in. Early 1970s, there were everyday comfortable brown loafers. But platform shoes were starting to be fashionable. Basket weave shoes with what they called a stack heel. And lovely purple platforms for the ladies. Or silver for going to the dance. Beautiful coloured platforms were all the fashion. Still the green everyday square-toed shoes. Clog style shoes. And these sort of sling back shoes. Now the late 70s, the platforms and heels went higher and thicker. They were positively making a statement. And with glam rock fashion, they went silver and coloured and even higher. Look at these patchwork boots, fantastic. School children had sort of a platform. And wooden wedge sandals. Oh my goodness, look at these. Late 70s, early 80s saw a punk fashion come in with military style shoes. And the Gothic era with dark Gothic looking shoes. 80s saw the yuppies with smart moccasin shoes and very smart cap toe shoes. For the ladies, the very smart court shoe came in, but not as high as before and with a sort of cone-shaped heel. And a sort of square toe type came back. And extreme for the disco. These lovely pixie boots. I do hope you've enjoyed this fashion on shoes. Till next time, goodbye.